6 FM.
I want to talk to Pat Drynan for a while. Pat is the founder of HomeHak.com, which is an interesting new website for people seeking accommodation. Before we get to that, Pat, you've come across a lot of people, like people with good jobs, good, well-paying jobs, who are offers of good, well-paying jobs in Cork, who are turning them down because they can't get accommodation. Good morning.
Good morning, PJ. Yes, indeed, we do. People come to our platform to create tenant CVs that they use to apply for homes. And so we sort of track their progress then as time goes on. And, you know, some of them have been taking 10, 12 weeks. And we've spoken to one or two employers, and we spoke to one employer only 2 weeks ago, and they lost 20 people in the Cork area that left Cork area because they couldn't find accommodation. So it is very challenging. And
these would be good jobs, like good, solid jobs.
Yes, I mean, I can tell you a consultant, I won't say much more than that, sure. A consultant and his wife, his spouse, had a very good job, 2 kids, looking to pay over 2,000 a month, a good bit over 2,000 a month, and it took 11 weeks before they got accommodation. Now, 11 weeks, it worked out for them, but you know, how much longer do they wait, sort of? And then, of course, they're compromising in that they had, you know, they hoped for a particular type of home and maybe they got something close. But, you know, week 8, week 9, week 10, and they're thinking, is this move going to happen? You know, because you're moving your family here. You're trying to make a future for yourself.
And an employer as well can't wait forever either.
No, and I spoke to an employer representative yesterday, somebody that... in a very large employer in Cork, and they have a number of houses. They had to get houses that they rent themselves, and they put employees up for a limited amount of time. And his most distressing time of any week was on the Friday, when he was having to tell people, okay, we've had you in the temporary housing for 1 month. You're meant to try and find your own accommodation, but now we have more employees coming in next week, and we need to put them into the temporary accommodation because they've promised them, of course, you know, 4 weeks free as a part of a relocation package. They promised people temporary accommodation, but then the people in the temporary accommodation, they're gainfully employed and they've good jobs, but they can't find a permanent home to move into. And so there's a merry-go-round there.
It's a crazy situation. So talk to me about HomeHak, which is HomeHak.com. How does it work, Pat?
Well, for the last 25, 30 years, the process has been driven by property websites, and the process that we're all familiar with, where a property is advertised on a property website. And then in Cork, if you look at the ads advertised in Cork, there are about 50 on any given day at the moment. It's the smallest amount historically. And the idea is that you can get up to 4,000 or 5,000 people will look at those individual ads, and it's an advertising business model, and it's all about the property. So what we've done with HomeHak is to say this is riding roughshod over the individuals involved in the process. So with HomeHak, we start with the people looking for the home, and we help them to prepare a tenant CV. We call it a HomeHak tenant CV. Okay. And so that means that they get all of their materials prepared in advance. They get their references. We help them to collect their rental history, their employment details, everything about them that says, I'm a good a tenant, and they get it all prepared and safely stored away. Now, they don't have to show it all in the beginning because we have GDPR firmly in our sites, and that too many people are giving away too much information, PJ. And so we help them to collect it all and then to show a summary and say, here's everything I have now that's ready. And then this is attractive to the landlord and letting agent who, when the landlord and letting agent advertise on the property website, they don't want 5,000 views or they don't want 400 people applying because that just overwhelms them. So what we've done is to say, you can just come on, you can put in the properties in the north side or the south side or it's in a village or whatever it is, and then you just deal with the individuals who want to live near there or who work down the street or nearby, and you're not overwhelmed. You're able to do a better job with people who have demonstrated they're organised and demonstrated they're trustworthy.
So you help them to put together this pack for a potential landlord. Pat, given that you work so close to the coalface and with so many people trying to find accommodation, have you any personal insight on what is the cause of this mess?
You mean the entire accommodation?
Yes.
Well, supply,
Yes.
supply is definitely the biggest issue, the issue that everybody is grappling with. But I believe that the entire process is hindering, is dysfunctional. The entire process is too focused. Every conversation is about property, PJ, and we're trying to make the conversation about people. And if we make it about people, I believe we can chip away at the sides of this. And I'll give you a few examples. Mm-hmm. When a crisis happened and a war started in Ukraine, 10,000 people came out of nowhere and offered rooms. Now, whatever happened since, in terms of how many rooms were matched up. But the point was that people instinctively came out of nowhere and offered up, and that the Irish people in general are very hospitable people. But, the instinct was there. Charity-wise, this country always punches way above its weight. The Irish people will respond when they see people in need. They always do. And I feel that we need to change the whole conversation from being around property. And let me tell you how practical ways I think that we can help this. So a couple of weeks ago, we decided to take our business from an online, and we went on the ground to the Castlewest Shopping Centre in Ballincollig, just to demonstrate the point. And we thought, okay, we want to, our proposition works really well now for the home seeker and the tenant. It works really well for the letting agent and the landlord. But we wanted to try and expand the marketplace. The stats are real, that there are tens of thousands of spare rooms in Cork.
Yes. And
we thought, okay, and the CSO stats tell us this from 2016. There are tens of thousands. So, for every 5-bedroom house in Cork, all the 5-bedroom houses, I think there are something like 40,000 bedrooms in those houses that are not being used. Yeah. Now, when we went out, so we thought we'll go out and we'll engage with the homeowners face-to-face in the shopping centre. And we met wonderful people. And we wanted to understand what it was a listening exercise. And what is it would motivate you to offer that home? And it's the conversations all came around to, well, when my own kids were a certain age, they rented. And when they think about a potential home seeker, somebody who needs a home, mirroring their own kids at that age, they're more inclined to say, do you know what, if we found an easy process, if they can put a face and an image that is like their own kids, they're very open to it.
Plus the fact that you can earn 14,000 a year tax-free.
Yes, just to clarify, one thing that people seem to be confused about, you don't get a check in the post for 14,000. Some people think, because the number is thrown out a lot. It's like if you get 1,000 a month, you'll get 12,000 in the year, and that 12,000 would be tax-free. Or if you had 2 people on 500 a month, that would be 12,000 again. So, and as long as it doesn't go over the 14,000, because when it goes to 14,001 euro, you're taxed on the whole amount. So that's important to be aware of that, because with rents being high, that might actually happen if you had 3 tenants come into your home.
So you're encouraging people, Pat, to offer up the spare room, to think about offering up the spare room to a person needing a rental, and can they do it through HomeHak?
Yes, well, our platform is there, and it's you just go on and you go to landlords, or you can go on to the tenant selector, and it's set up originally to help people who are coming to the city, the workers, or anybody who comes to Cork City to apply for a home. But we've expanded that to include, if somebody now wants to go on there and click register, they just put in their room or their home details. It's free for them to do that for 30 days. After you'll have it rented in a matter of days. But then after 30 days, the question is, if you want to keep the account, it's 25 euro. So it's not about the cost here. And if somebody objects to that, even, we don't mind. We're trying to house people and people that have prepared good, organised tenant CVs. So we just want to go on and register and put up your details. And there is a requirement that you verify your ID, PJ, and I want to mention that because It's only 3 minutes. We're the first to do this in this space in Ireland. It's with Stripe Identity, and they have the name known to everybody, I think.
That's the Collison
And what
brothers.
the reason? Yes, the Collison brothers, and they're an Irish success story. And the reason we've done this, it's if you like a hurdle, is to deal with the fake landlord situation. And I think a lot of good homeowners and good landlords don't mind the 3 minutes it might take to show your driving license or passport to the system. It means we're not collecting the driving license or passport, but Stripe is looking at it and saying, yeah, that's the homeowner, the same one that's on the passport. So safe person, and it's to discourage the fake landlords that are out there.
Which would solve the problem of misfortunate person coming from up the country or another country and paying over money and then discovering that the place they paid for doesn't exist. It's a whole...
Doesn't exist, exactly. And that's we need to push, and the Gardaí have been doing great work actually this year, I think, and made some very good information public about it, which we share as well. But we want to
a lot of places in town, Pat, and years ago there was an initiative, a living over the shop initiative in the 90s, and it kind of fell away for any number of reasons. But if you take Oliver Plunkett Street as an example, a lot of units in there would have room up there for 2 or 3 apartments or rooms. Like, you'd think that it's about time council and landlords got together and sort things out and just provide the accommodation that's so badly needed.
You would, and every time the conversation starts, PJ, it all comes back to the planning and the finance and everything. It becomes about the property. And I really do think if it became around, right, we have 1,000 people, there's their faces, there's their tenant CVs on HomeHak. They're real people they can pay. This is how they will pay, and they're ready to move on the 1st of March, let's say, or whatever it is.
Yeah, it all seems so easy when you think about it logically, and there's so many hurdles in the way of people. Pat, thank you very much. That is Pat Drynan of HomeHak.com, HomeHak, HomeHak.com. A street like Oliver Plunkett Street or Patrick Street, like anywhere else in Europe or across the world, would have loads and loads of people living upstairs. But yeah, we don't do it here. Would you? There's a question that Pat raises. Would you take someone into that spare bedroom upstairs? I'm thinking particularly of people whose family have moved out, or you might be living in a 4-bedroomed house and have a completely empty bedroom that is just storing old clothes and suitcases at this stage. Would you like to make 14 grand a year out of that, or 12 grand a year out of that, tax-free, giving accommodation to a young professional person? Mandy, think, would you do that? I mean, it used to be called digs. There was loads of people had digs and gave out rooms as digs. And my dad, God rest him, when he came to Cork as a young guard back in the day, he had digs. That's what they're called. They were digs. You paid to stay in a person's spare room. And that's what HomeHak is about. And lots more besides. You'll find the website, HomeHak, HomeHak.com.